Hey guys, it's Ben here from Second Dynasty. Welcome to another Friday stream. I hope my voice isn't too loud today. We've changed the microphone around a little bit so we can show off a second camera. Yes, we have finally sorted something out. Actually, I just stole it from Albin's setup, but technically I believe we have a second camera. We'll get into that later. But yeah, welcome to the chat. Let's get started in a minute. I am going to see. Hello. Let's see. Hello Eric, Totally Glitch, Brian, Tamsin, Thomas, Anders, ArnaQ, and Shergal. Shergal, you actually got mentioned in the latest update for Traveller. We put it out just about half an hour ago, I think. But I took that print of yours and I just put out the update with the staircase in it. So you should be able to get that printing again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, lately we had an official Traveller 3D printing campaign on Kickstarter where we put out the Small Craft campaign. We're in the process of releasing the STL files, that is the 3D printable files of the stretch goals that we unlocked. And I'm excited to show off a collaboration that has been happening for a long time. What on earth is going on here? I think I might need to refresh this thing because it's confusing me. Sorry, the YouTube studio was confusing me about exactly what we're broadcasting and when and all of that sort of thing. It was showing me my desktop even before we went live, which is why I was confused. So yeah, Brian said, great update. How much of a struggle though was it to not just say just the tip? It was a struggle. It was a serious, real struggle. And the reason for that was simply the fact that in the update we were talking about actually, we could probably look at the update. The question is, do I have it open here somewhere? We could certainly update it. I can get it up on my other screen. Here it is. Put it over here. So this was the update that we did. I can get rid of my little menu here. So this is the small craft cradle that I was talking about. I don't have it open in Maya at the moment, although I guess this week I got a bit derailed again, but you can blame this guy, GamingGeek, for that with the Cerberus. We'll get into that in a second. An absolutely brilliant video, but yes, the Traveller update I was talking about. We put out the small craft cradle, and this is the example that Shergal put out. So shout out to Shergal for that. And yeah, I did mention that all of the small craft except, look, of course it is customizable, although you won't fit a modular cutter in there at least. Although maybe just the front. So yeah, that's the part where maybe just the tip might have been there. Hey Solo Spirit. Tamsin said, just watch that video. He's done a great job on that Cerberus. He sure has, and actually he did have some good critique. Some of it is stuff that he missed. Like, for example, I think at the beginning he thought it was a traveler ship. He did kind of come to the conclusion that it wasn't. The Cerberus was a Chimera variant that we put out with Sleipnir back in 2020, I want to say, 2021 maybe. And that was, Sleipnir was our expand style ship. Cerberus was meant to be like a gunship variant of the Chimera platform. So a massive ship. I've got mine actually torn apart at the moment for good reason, which we will get into, although I am pulling my hair out. We have had quite a few Traveller releases in the last 2 weeks. We've got the small craft cradle out. We've gotten the 2 variants of the Rampart Fighter, and they're a lot more modular. We showed that off last week. Albin has finished the 40-ton slow Pinnace. I have been snickering all week long when we've talked about that.
I don't understand why.
No, neither do I. And even more brilliantly, this is a model that came out so nice. I'm actually very pleased with it, and that is the 30-ton fuel tank.
Yay!
And actually, Albin, you could pass that over and I can show it off.
Absolutely.
You might have to come in through the boss door. Yeah, don't get too excited. It is a Friday. Here we go. Yeah, let me hold this up. Look at that module. That looks great, doesn't it?
I really like it's like a lot of depth.
Yeah.
You can see into the module and stuff.
And it looks interesting. It looks like it would actually be quite fun to paint. Obviously, we haven't cleaned it up or anything. It is quite heavy because it has a lot of different perimeters. And we got our Mark IV printing again. Yay!
Whoopah!
So, yeah, I'm happy with this. We haven't seen it on yet. Maybe you could try attaching it and come back when you've been a good boy. It's alright, he's always a good boy. And John, of course, has converted our small craft into 3D printable 1:270 and tactical miniatures. Now, there's a little bit of variance with the scales there. Mostly, we didn't do tinier versions of the ramparts because they're already tiny. And yeah, these renders I think don't 100% I think the wings are a little bit thicker in the final product. Because John realized he was designing it for a 0.2 millimeter nozzle instead of a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. And then I just wanted to do a little bit of advertising for what else we're doing on this campaign. So I know there might be a few tribers here. Our tribe is kind of like our Patreon. It functions in a similar way, only you get releases. I can see
the slow pellets.
All right, hang on. Let's go. There's something sneaking in, threatening to penetrate the shot. That looks great.
Yeah, I want to slap some paint on it.
Yeah, let's move it closer to the camera. Yeah. It should be stable. It is stable. There you go. New module for the modular cutter, proving the point of its modularity.
Just the point. Oh, it's not the same in English. Never mind.
I think Albin was trying to make a pun on just the tip, but
yes.
It only works in Swedish. Here you go.
Okay.
Oh, we dropped a landing gear flap. Yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think of that? I should probably actually look at the chat. Let's see. Showgirl said, I tried to get the slow Pinnace, but it was just too big at first. Oh, cheeky. Brian says, just started printing a Sleipnir. I love the Sleipnir, actually. I love the Expanse. So it'd be nice to do another ship like that in the future. But this year, it's pretty booked up. We've had an exciting week. I've had a couple of interesting conversations back and forth, talking traveller plans for the future. This year, if we're doing any traveller, I think it will be character miniatures focused, since that is what most people want. As far as vehicle design is going, we've got a lot on our plate, and I really need to get stuck into gear. But I got distracted this month by two things. One of them is the Cerberus, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The other is this sort of like timeline of plans that we have going on, because we've got so much going on in February, and I only just realized, hey Dalton, I only just realized that it's already the 19th of January, and I must admit, slight panic is setting in. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight the, oh, it says AS41, that's a spelling mistake. Can we actually edit this still? Edit, has it been 30 minutes? Yes, let's go in and change it real quick. Correct the spelling mistake. It's not an AS41, it's a JAS41. Although, to be fair, that said as, didn't it? Not AS, but still.
It means corpse in Swedish.
Saved. What? Does it?
As. Cadaver.
Really?
Yeah.
I've learnt something new today.
Oh.
Anyway, yes. So, here is the deal. 2nd of February, for previous customers that have not been, for customers that have not been on our tribes, we're going to offer a free month. With that month, because the release is coming out on the 22nd, we are also including this month as in January's release, which is the Jaws 41 Vampiren. And what is next month's release? We'll get to that in just a short amount of time. That is on the 2nd. We've got a promotion slot with My Mini Factory, so we're going to pimp that out. Hugh Jaws. Tamsin. Well, I never. Yeah, on the 6th, which is the following Tuesday. So the 2nd is a Friday. The Tuesday is the 6th is when we are launching the Transport Delta 2400 series Frontier. So this is not a Kickstarter, it's Frontier on My Mini Factory, which means direct delivery. And the 2400 is what the Delta 1700 evolved into. I planned the 1700 to be like just an update of a few parts on the old Transport Delta. It ended up being 95% of the ship. So I actually took the same principles, took one of the stretch goals we had and turned it into a complete separate ship with brand new turrets, brand new interior layout, hyperdrive, engines, etc. That's going live, and I think there might be a 3rd ship now, thanks to GamingGeek. So don't forget after this stream to check out the link in the description and give that video a like and follow him if you'd like to see some more stuff. He does fantastic builds. We're going to have an ongoing relationship with GamingGeek to get even more of our designs printed and on that tabletop. And he just started a Traveller campaign. So exciting times there. And then on the 22nd, we're having 2nd Dynasty Day, which will be a flash 1-day sale with 50% off store-wide. That means not campaigns, but anything else on our My Mini Factory store for 1 day only. So it will be yet another chance to get some of those high-value items at half the price, but only for 1 day. So I know it's February. I know the belt is a little tight in more ways than one, perhaps after Christmas, but still, that might help alleviate things a little bit, and it will keep us going as well in the meantime. So I've put a little bit of focus onto looking back and figuring out what we're going to do with tribes, because I've realized the vehicles we're putting out are getting more and more sophisticated, and it seems at this point kind of insane to me that, you know, we only have a $5 a month sort of buy-in for that. It's like, buy us a coffee or a beer. I guess $5 wouldn't buy you a beer here, but still, it might buy you a coffee. Is there a 2nd Dynasty tip jar? Yes, there is on My Mini Factory. You can do that, but I would rather be supported on tribes or something where, you know, you actually get something in return as well. So, but whatever you like. So, a few things are happening with the tribes. One is that My Mini Factory has just started to implement yearly plans, which means basically we'll be able to offer the tiers, so you can purchase 12 months worth all at once. So instead of paying $60 over a year, you could, for example, pay $50 for that. But we are looking at changing what we're doing on tribes. So we might change up the tiers because these vehicles are quite sophisticated. If you look at the Vampiren and the Star Mule before then, they're very complicated ships. Even the Stalwart, which we're going to show off in a second, is way more work than this was intended to be. Look, we're offering something on tribes that I don't think other people are. We're doing vehicles. It's not one of those things where it's like a group of people are bunging out 20 miniatures a month and that's all they're doing, their sole focus. We're doing vehicles instead. I think unlike miniatures where the market pricing is extremely devalued by people trying to establish themselves, or big players able to offer a ridiculous amount of miniatures. What happens? You devalue the product for everyone. You flood the market with thousands upon thousands of 3D printables. And that's great as a consumer. You have a lot to select, but like as far as the labor that goes into those things, it's probably, we couldn't keep the lights on with that model living in Sweden. But with this, doing vehicles, I feel like people value vehicles a little bit more than they do character miniatures. Like they can understand why that would cost, $7, $8, $9, $10 depending on the size of the model. And of course, there's a lot of parts. And even the cradle, for example, this was 40 complete new parts. This is why it took like a whole week for me to design up. But we'll be able to, service those. So we're talking about changing the model, maybe having like a sort of like terrain piece, lower tier that's less than $5, like $3, $3.50, something like that. Where you get 5 or 6 new modular pieces that you could plug into whatever open lock deck plans you want to create. And then having the vehicle being at like $7 or $8 a month, and then like maybe a $10 tier if you want both of those things. We're not there yet. We're not changing things yet. But we'll probably look into that before we do the free month, so we know what we're dealing with. Anyway, so I mentioned on the 22nd. See, right now, honestly, I need to be spending more time on the Delta and getting that out. But I instead spent time on the Cerberus because I listened to the feedback from GamingGeek, and although a number of the points, like, let me just turn, this is going to be a mess, just because, the scene's not cleaned up and it's kind of hard to see. There's a couple of objects intersecting each other. For example, the windows here, he said like he couldn't figure out how you could possibly put windows in here, and missed the fact that there's actually a little slot at the top where you can just slide in the window. You right there, Albin?
Yeah, sorry.
You're not laughing at GamingGeek, right? You were just choking.
No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just struggling with coffee.
He's struggling with coffee. All right, that doesn't sound very Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was one of the issues. Another issue was that this top section didn't slot down, aside from 2 pegs on the end here. There were no holes in this part to actually align with, so I added those. The other complaint was you kind of have to take these ribs off with the, like you can't take all of the top off at once, and it just gets a bit awkward. But what I've started doing is actually introducing the bulkheads that we did for, what was it, Odyssey, at the beginning of last year. And these have clip holes in the base so they can attach to the floor, and they have a variety of custom sort of slots there. They're designed so that the actual bulkhead prints on its side for maximum structural strength. We've fixed some of the issues with the older parts. Like, I don't think it's visible anymore, but for example, this part had an error, and many of the Chimera old parts did too, where essentially these lines here were out. So it had some kind of weird shape like that, which just meant that the clips weren't connecting properly. They would connect, but they wouldn't hold fast so well. So that's something that we want to address. And yeah, I've landed in a situation where I can feel the Delta thing happening all over again, where, we've looked at the... Oh, that's misaligned. Let's move that on the grid over. So yeah, just stuff like taking out the open lock clip supports and sort of making these so that they're more printable, adding in the ladder wells from Cerberus, addressing a few print errors, and I think I have the first 3 build plates, which is up to like, I think this section here on the lower deck, ready to go, so that I know Cerberus was one of those things where it's a big ship, The instructions are extremely basic. I don't know if we have a PDF version. Lisa, do we have one for the Cerberus? In any case, I know that the 3DO version is quite simplistic. So yeah, I have released what I've done so far today. So GamingGeek got a discount code. You should be able to take advantage of that if you want a Cerberus. Of course, if you're a Tribes member, you'll still get a bigger discount than that. But yeah, it is 20% off on this ship. His version, let's see, which one was it? This one. Oh no, I closed the window. Let's see, his version here is actually an extended version. So if I make this a bit larger and maybe I set this to actually be 1080, the quality didn't increase so much. In any case, this is actually an extra 4 inches longer. Has an extra turret here. I can hear the snickering in the chat already. But yeah, I wanted to make prepare the files because I anticipated that maybe some people would see this video and decide to buy the Cerberus. Can you extend it like that with Chimera parts? Yeah, I mean, this is a Chimera based set, so it does have a lot of unique parts, but this is essentially like a 2-inch thinner version of the Chimera. It was originally built from a combination of Pathfinder and original parts. I designed it thanks to Brian, who painted several of our ships, and yeah, it just turned into this sort of like Star Wars type gunship. And then I thought, well, if we're doing the Delta 1700, 2400 in this new Frontier, maybe we should just add this to the lineup, because it never got, like, it was just an add-on in Sleipnir. It was never a fully fleshed out ship. Maybe it could be. Maybe it has some wider appeal. It looks great in any case, and it does have that sort of like World War II bomber feel. Yeah, so check out this video. It's well worth seeing. My scene here, not that exciting, but this has kind of like derailed my work this week to try and focus on this and get something out for people that are newcomers to this ship. So that's kind of where I'm at. Of course, we still have Traveller stuff that needs doing. It also consequently means I didn't get the cab finished. I haven't got any Delta work done either. The other thing that I put a lot of time into is, like I mentioned, on the 22nd is when we're going to have our Tribes release for next month. Now, many, many months ago, John came up with a concept called the Stalwart, and he polled our Tribes community about all the different modules, and the idea was it was going to be a 3-part ship where it had a bridge section, a sort of engineering section, and some warp-like nacelles.
And 1 part man.
Okay. Then I got my hands on it, and John was delayed. He wasn't going to be out on time with it, because this was one that John was going to be doing. And I benefited it. And now it's like almost 3 months later or something like that since we did the Stalwart Bridge. And now it's time to plan the rest of it, and I've been busy. So, this is the Stalwart's final form. I don't think all of this will be out by the 22nd. The idea is it's going to be the sort of like engineering section here. So there might be the warp nacelle mounts, because it does need engines for the lower part. This design is kind of inspired by Voyager. Obviously, more a Star Trek style ship. I don't actually have enough, like if I turn on all of the lights, this will probably really struggle and chug along. Like you can see it's sort of being jerky. I'm not sure the shadows are working. Let's see. What happens if I move this? yeah, the shadows were not working. They usually don't work first go, so you can kind of see the shape of it here. I've really enjoyed working on this, weirdly enough, because I didn't really love it to begin with. The lights are way too strong in this, but you can kind of see the bridge section. They're strong in this because the render lights actually look different. So this is the scene lights. Unfortunately, to make them look good in the render, they have to be up very, very high, which means it doesn't look great in Maya. Let's see, what are people saying about this? I just noticed there are 420 drivers. Nice, Brian. Did you just put up a maple leaf instead of a marijuana leaf? Okay, that's interesting.
I couldn't find anything green in the correct shape.
So, this ship is actually bigger than a Shuttle Alpha by a long shot. I'm going to turn off the lights again. So this is what I've been working on. It has a large cargo bay, large-ish anyway. Then it has a sort of interior. I'll probably get John to actually do the interior decorating because I'm not going to have enough time. I don't know if this will be the final door. I just ripped it out of the Delta. We go upstairs. I think this was meant to be like the captain's cabin. It'll have these nice windows looking out. Get a little bed nook in the corner. Then you've got your stairs up to the airlock. And if you went through the airlock, you would end up... No, not in hell, in the bridge section. You can see Captain Ben there. I don't think this miniature's scaled right. Either that or Captain Ben is giant, which is possible. I love that John made this texture. Very flattering. I am nowhere near that thin. I thought for a second he'd put a beauty mark on my face, but no, it was just a blotch on the actual monitor. Baby Voyager, indeed. So I imagine this as kind of like if... I'm sure some of you guys will be in a similar age range to me, where you might have grown up in the 80s and remember like the old toys for Star Wars, where you would have, you know, the action figures that fit into like this sort of like, what is it? Is it chibi characters? Mm-hmm. That the Japanese sort of like, yeah, the sort of like soft plushy toy version of the character. So this is kind of like the sort of chibi version of a Voyager, right? Like an action playset, not actually something. It's something that represents a 300-meter vessel, but there's no way we are ever going to design something that's a 300-meter vessel. Cerberus is still the longest ship we've ever designed. It is 3 feet, about 90 centimeters. It is massive. What is the latest on the Nostromo? Nostromo is not scheduled for release until September, so it's going to be a long project. We are planning to do the lifeboat section of it probably for April, so directly once the Delta campaign is done, which will end on the 22nd, so it's not a long campaign. Our focus will go over to the lifeboat. Hopefully it will come out late April, and then the Nostromo itself is a project to come out September, October, something like that, with like our big Kickstarter for the year. So it's going to be a while. I'm a little bit worried about the size of the ship, but if I build it modular, maybe there's an option to have a miniature version. But yeah, I really kind of like the lines here. It's still got, you know, some decent internal volume. It's a little hard to maybe see here, but if I sort of drag out these shells, you can kind of see the floor plan we've got to work with. So very much just a concept. It's going to take a while to get printable. I might force John to do some conversion at a certain point. We'll see. But yeah, the idea is that this engineering section should be done for the 22nd. So some work has gone into this. It's not finished by any stretch, but I really like the look of it, and I know that Voyager is like Lisa Lott's favorite Star Trek ship, and I showed it to her today and was very pleased with her reaction. Even now she's sitting there smiling quietly. So yeah, we've never done a Star Trek ship aside from like, well, we've done some shuttles with nacelles, but not like a proper, this is the thought behind it. Before it was just like slap on some nacelles. So this is a long way from John's concept. Now, I've talked to John, and we've talked about him still making his concept the way he was intending to do it. There are fans of the globule style. That's why John made the off-brand Second Dynasty version. So yeah, that's kind of like where we're at with that. So I'm spread a bit thin at the moment, which is not so surprising because it's a habitual thing. I'm very excited. Next week I do need to finish that cab. I do need to set aside time, and I do need to... I think now that we've reached the concept phase of this, so we can kind of sell... Let's see, what would it actually look like? I haven't turned off... let's see, if I put that in the cells... Oh, there's lots of crap in there. Since I've been writing for my Alien campaign, which I play every other week, or run rather, and it's a Colonial Marines campaign, and I was listening to the Star Trek 2 soundtrack while I was making this thing, and I'm just like, geez, Horner really just repeated all the stuff that he made. I was even like listening to Battle Beyond the Stars, and it sounds almost identical to Star Trek, only it came a couple of years beforehand. So yeah, anyway, a little observation. So yeah, it'll be this sort of like central section, and maybe just like the nacelles up to this point or something. I don't know. So it's like just the engines. So yeah, what do you guys think of this thing? Are you excited for the design? It's probably actually a bit too large for something to be released on Tribes. It's a bit of insanity, but I think when we finish it, we'll put it out as like a complete ship. I'm really hoping that I've understood the weight distribution correctly so that it'll be back heavy enough that it's not going to droop here. So, that all being said and clarified, looks like the chat's gone kind of quiet. So I am going to assume that we'll leave this subject for now, and we'll just do a little bit of Cerberus work. And this is maybe a bit more behind the scenes. So my goal is to get another build played out. This is the last one that I did, which is this section. I know this is a bit hard to see, but why don't I just I'll put some of these things into the correct layers so we're not stuck with a bunch of this other crap out here. And I might even make a workshop layer. So I've got a few bits and pieces and that in here. Let's see, let's just go for so if we start adding these things, we can kind of clear up the scene enough to work. So basically I'm just pilfering items from all kinds of different scenes and models. Like if you looked in my shaders, they would look absolutely atrocious. Let's see, that needs to be added to deck 3. The decks are getting renamed too, because in the Cerberus originally it was 1, 2 and 3, with 3 being at the top, and now we have reversed it. So it is A, B and C deck, with C deck being on the bottom. Let's see, that also goes in there, that also goes in there. These ones will all go into deck 3. Actually, we'll put them in deck 3 by itself. These items are all deck 2 items. Deck 2 hull. So basically, yeah, we were just getting rid of all of this stuff. I think that's probably a spare part. We certainly have. Oh, actually, no. Let's put it in the deck 2. And that one can also go into deck 3. And I think that's intersecting there. That should be in deck workshop, actually. Alright, so we'll just clean this up a little bit so you can kind of see it. For some reason, this model was way off to the side. But, yeah, so basically, the 3 build plates that we've done is for this part. It doesn't have the lower turrets yet. I think the actual turrets, aside from the front ones, we will put somewhere else in the build plates. It won't just be in the sort of deck C ones. But, let's see. Sugargirl says, we're not quiet, we are practicing deep nacelle breathing techniques. Brian Rumbau says, good morning from chilly Ottawa. Good morning indeed. It was quite chilly here too, but only -16 when I was driving to work. It was -25 the other day. That's like Canadian weather. Almost. So yeah, we need to get rid of some of the old... What's going on here? There's something... We've got the top here. This must be the old one. I think they're identical parts anyway. The new one. So let's just ditch this old one. We'll put it into workshop. So this is the problem when you're replacing older parts. So here the goal really isn't to start from scratch like I did with the Delta at all. It is about structural reinforcement and getting rid of some of those open lock clip supports. Now fortunately for the Chimera series, that's only in the floors for the most part. So it's only the real deck and that. I've already replaced this deck with the Odyssey style. I have moved around some ladder wells. We can review that in a bit. So what we need to figure out printing now is to do another maybe 2 or 3 build plates for this section. So it is a large ship. Honestly, volume-wise, you'd probably be getting fairly close to something. Getting up on the... maybe not quite... Somewhere between like a Type S and the Beowulf. So it is, 3 full decks. Well, I thought there were like... I'm getting this mixed up with the Pathfinder too, I'm finding. So when I designed this was more Star Warsy. I have recollections of like... I left this clip hole thing here. I'm pretty sure I left that there so that you could install like a droid recharging station. But I ran out of time and didn't put it in. Calgary, it was -50. Yeah, F that. Yeah, I guess it varies a lot. Like Canada's like one of the largest countries. Isn't it the second largest country on Earth after Russia? Pretty sure. I mean, I'm from a big country, so I understand that, people misjudge the size of maps, but geographically big, I should say. I think Australia's like 25 million people. Look, that's a lot of people compared to, like, I grew up in the 1980s and it was 15 million, so we've added 10 million people. Meanwhile, Sweden has ticked over from 9 million to 10 million in that time. But hey, growth is growth. Second largest by landmass. Yep. So it would probably have a similar population density. I know when Australia was 15 million people, maybe 18, the population density was 1 person per square kilometre. So I'd imagine, Canada's like 35 million, is that right? Something like that? So it must be quite similar. Anyway, I also learned that Brazil is larger than Australia.
In population?
No, both geographically and in population.
What? Oh, that's a mind boggle.
It was for me too. Especially since I was young at the time and a Brazilian was saying it's larger than Australia. I'm like, no, it's not. Australia's smaller on the map. And then looking at the actual, 39 million. There you go. Canada, also a popular destination for some reason. Perhaps it's a wonderful country. Probably. Might be the influx of all the Yanks trying to escape the dystopia. Alrighty. Hey, Justice Toyason. Oh, like, they're talking about temperatures. Yeah, I think minus 50C and minus 70F, like, you've reached that point. I think it's like minus 30 where it's basically the same. I'm not sure. Anyway, yes, the goal is to export these so we have build plates for the Cerberus. Now this is the last plate I did. That's just the section before. I did forget to... Wait, did I not turn on supports for this? For support. Enforces only. Let's try test printing this again. We should get some supports under here. Like, these parts will print without supports. It will look tidier if you include them. Oh, and we need to change the type of the supports. So this is kind of like the part of our distribution process where we're sort of preparing the actual product itself. We've gone out of the concept phase. The parts are printable, but now we're getting it to a point where it's like we're trying to make it easier for you to print. And the point of doing 3MF build plates is, if you had the exact same slicer and the exact same printer, you could literally just import it, press print, and you're going. You're starting straight away. Even if you don't, you can import the 3MF file, and it will do the best to imitate the same print settings that we've used, the ones we know work well for your printer. So that will make a huge difference as far as like on the consumer end, making it maybe not, I wouldn't say idiot proof, but like just trying to decrease the number of issues that can go wrong and increase the quality of the print. I think in most cases we're probably now at least mid-range. Like the bamboo, honestly, John has gushed about it for months and months and months and made sure we got one despite the fact that I don't like buying Chinese printers. I can't complain about it. It's put out solid quality, especially on slow mode. It's pretty decent quality. It's very fast. I've had literally no problems with it at all. The Mark IV has had some issues, but I figured out that it was actually when it turned on the... oh god, what's the fast mode? I keep forgetting what it's called. Yeah. Anyway, when it had its fast mode update, they changed Prusa Slicer without telling people, and we got retraction issues. It took a while to figure it out. Technically, there was never anything wrong with the printer. That's the frustrating thing. It has been the best quality of the prints that we've had. But yeah, anyway, compared to what it was, my first printer in 2016 was a FlashForge Creative Pro. It sucked. It sucked big time. It was like a Chinese knockoff of... I'm going to switch this to organic and slice now. It was a knockoff of I think it was a Creality printer or something like that. I'm not sure, but like the thing is, Creality Ender 3s, they were known for a while as the sort of like, that's the product you buy into. But you had to actually install so many different aftermarket upgrades to get it to a decent print quality. I don't think it's a good beginner printer, to be honest. Like the price is a good price. But now with Bamboo and Prusa have options that are like not as cheap, but a Prusa Mini for about $500, much better. There's so much less that can go wrong with it. I would never buy a printer these days that doesn't have a removable build plate. Like, I can't believe we ever did that. Manually, like...
What?
We had to manually reset the build plate every single time. We had to calibrate the plate. All of that is automated on modern printers, and they print 4 to 5 times faster. So it is worth, I think, you know, if you're going to get into the hobby and you're a beginner, honestly, you're better off saving up, getting in at the $500 to $1,000 mark. Get something that's going to have like almost no issues. It's just going to print, be solid, and it will delay that process of you having to learn about the issues until much later. Oh, Brian retracted a message again. Now, was that deliberate when I was talking about retraction issues? So we're just going to save this project, which is the build plate. Looking at the name, I'm calling it Cerberus 2. It's not really. I'm just trying to differentiate that because these plates just rip parts from different areas at the moment. So I am mostly going to clear this plate by removing the whole pieces. But there will be some that we probably want to keep, like these floors maybe. Let's have a look. I don't think we have any ladder wells. So again, we want this section onwards. So we need this floor, which I think is unique. We need 2 of these. This probably would be better to combine, but in this case I don't think it's worth it. And then we need these sort of whole pieces. Technically, not the top plate, but the lower part here, you could just mirror these and have like 2 turrets if you wanted. But anyway, we need to look into our folders a little bit. Let's get back into the Cerberus 2. And we want to be on deck C exterior to start with. Okay, so we need this bulkhead. So let's see, where did we go? Into the folder, we want the bulkhead there. We'll need the interior of that bulkhead, which I guess is this thing. The next bulkhead after that is... See, we never know if we're going to have room, but I'm going to import it anyway. Is this sort of like angled frame. We need the door frame from that. And we'll see about the landing gear if we get that far, because it is in the next section. So if I can just get all of this section on the plate, like, I don't know if we're going to have enough room for more. So let's go into, and I've got to keep an eye on the time because I do have to leave like immediately. My wife has to drop off her parents at the airport, so I need to be home lickety split. So at the moment, all I'm doing is just adding these files to the build plate. So I don't need these. We've got that 2x2 section there. We'll add a clone of this. Keeping an eye, I guess my header's on top of things here. Brian Haven says, was going to ask if you were going to start including bamboo build plate files. I would probably stick to Mark IV, because what I actually, the bamboo actually, my P1P is a larger builder plate than my Mark IV. So I know if I just drop a Mark IV build plate onto my bamboo, it's going to keep all of the settings basically, and I know that will fit onto the build plate as is. One of the other nice things of the bamboo, to be honest, is if it detects a part it's going to have stability issues, instead of just flagging, hi, this might have stability issues, it actually automatically puts in like, what's the word I'm looking for? Brim. Or skirt. I'm not sure which. I think it's skirt. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, the important thing is the 3MF will have our print settings in it. And to be honest, the stuff I've been printing on the on the bamboo has been at 0.2. We're getting really good quality anyway. So, I mean, normally we design for 1.5. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. Yeah, brim. Okay, there you go. Anyway, so how many floor plates do we need here? Just one to start with. We'll leave the other one in until we get these parts in and see actually what we need to do. We also need some special clips here. So I'm just going into clips, and we'll need a no new mount snug clip here. This is where I get into the adding custom settings. So we're going to add in layers and perimeters all our open lock clips. The strongest way of doing things, like at the moment, if we went and sliced now, this will take a little bit of time to figure out the layers. Thomas Merrick says, I haven't had a problem printing the build plates on my X1C. That's great. Awesome to hear. But yeah, if we look at this clip over here, you can see it has this finishing edge, and once we go enough layers down, we actually get some, material in here in the clip. Internal infill here. We usually set to 8%. Infill is not something you need very much of. It saves a lot on filament in the long run. But what we want to do with our clips in particular is I recommend changing the perimeters to about 7 or 8, turning off the bottom solid layers to the 0, and doing the same with the top layers. Now what this will result in is you get these perfect loops instead, and this will increase the strength of the part significantly and just mean that a lot of these clips aren't going to snap off, which is preferable when they're holding together, these heavy ship parts. And I think especially like GamingGeek noticed, because he scaled up the Cerberus to 32mm, so that's like 115%, which means that ship went from 5 kilos to about 9, I think he said. So even though it's only 15% larger, obviously, I think it's something like if you double something in size, the actual weight and volume increases by about a factor of 8. So it's not just as simple as that. So we've got this setting in, now we can duplicate it. Those two, so now I'm going over to my original Cerberus files, and we're going to pull out, let's say we need this one, we need those engine nozzles, and we need the end of, let's see, I think it's that one and that one. So we're going to drag them in. Now the beauty of a build plate too is these don't have to be in the same file. So I suspect now we're going to end up in a situation where we might have to split this up even further, and my goal for this would be to take out this bulkhead and we put that on the next plate instead. So I can already see this isn't going to work as is. So we're going to remove that bulkhead, which means we can also remove this insert. We need 2 of those, and let's resort and see what we can do. So we have all the floor plates. Oh, we only need 1 of those as well. We sort this, and then we start playing with rotating items and seeing where we can fit them in. Actually, this we don't need either. So let's see what it does. We've still got that large piece there that we want to get onto the build plate. So I would build around this. Many slices too now allow you to, it automatically places the seam in a nice spot. So here we kind of probably want to look at, usually if we have a lot of detail like these floor panels, I try to get it forward facing, so just to make sure those seams are probably going to come to the back. Let's see, so if we place that there and we place this one, let's see, let's rotate it 180, so that it will be some kind of configuration like this. Maybe, see, this is where we have to get into the Tetris part of this. Exactly. Thank you, Albin, for that contribution. Fun little film. I enjoyed it thoroughly. The Tetris film on Disney, not Disney.
Right?
No, Apple.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, just a fun, true story. Kind of insane when you think about it. So yeah, we're just rotating these objects, trying to get them into positions where they're not going to intersect with each other, just to optimize the build plate. It will probably complain. This is like about as steep as you can get it. Honestly, it probably won't print completely flawlessly. but we've got a nice counterweight here, so I think we're pretty good. So yeah, let's just move this around. Let's see. Dalton says, I'm hoping to build all of the ships at 54% scale, never mind the weight. I don't have a spare house to hold it all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you got a 0.2mm nozzle, although I know you're planning to do resin, I really don't know how that's going to go, mate. But if you got a 0.2mm nozzle instead of a 0.4, you could easily print all of this stuff at 54%. That is to say 15mm. Right, so we need to get this one in somewhere. That's going to be the tricky one. I think if we put it somewhere here... See, this would make the build plate hard to put on a Mark III's or something, as it is. Kind of is a bit inconvenient here. Like, there are some parts that are very close together. So I don't know if I'm buying... Oh! I just saw a pattern. So if we rotate this, stick that in the middle like so, do like that, put this in the middle, maybe something like that, and then we could rotate these ones. Oh my god, look at that. Suddenly we're finding the room. So yeah, it needs a little bit more refinement. You kind of need to play with your camera angles just to see how everything's fitting. Because ideally you want to leave enough space. Here we don't really have any objects that are going to be a serious issue. Let's move that over to there. We've got a few clips. Normally the full open lock clips I would leave off. Look at that, we've got a build plate. And just in time too. Let's see what it does. With the slicer. Let's see. Michael Tenery says, yeah, Tetris was a real good watch. Love the soundtrack. It was great hearing We Need a Hero by Bonnie Tyler in both Russian and Japanese. Brian Haven says, have you tried using the support material on the bamboo? Yeah, I mean, we design as support free as possible. That doesn't mean it's 100% support free. Like for example, the last build plate we had. So I'm not seeing any issues here. We aren't seeing any flags from Prusa Slicer that complain about things. We do have this issue here, where this part is actually flagging up that it has 21,834 errors. You can build it if you want, if you can manage to do it in 3 minutes, but I don't think so. I think we'll leave that off. Anyway, and I'll just put this light on. So I'm just going to hit fix the STL, and I'm actually going to re-export that file because it means that the base file is not actually fixed. And I know for a fact that if it says that there are 21,000 errors, the problem is probably flipped normals. It's not actually it will print without issues, but we just save it out. So what I would do now is go to Save Project As, and then we'll name this Build Plate 3, and we will change the name. Sorry, Build Plate 4 it is. And if we look back at the Cerberus model, what is this little room? I don't know what to call that. Vestibule. Cargo vestibule, we'll call it. That sounds good. Cargo vestibule. It would be probably a great room to put like in suit lockers or something. I'm not going to add stuff in, but the benefit of putting these Odyssey style bulkheads in too is they're compatible with all the sort of like set dressing we put in. So you could slot in, suit lockers or whatever in this room, actually dress it up a little bit. So that'll be interesting to see how it looks when it's all kitted out. So now we have our fourth build plate. We've got to this point. I'll have some work cut out for me getting the rest of this printable, but again, I don't think we'll be doing all of that anytime in the immediate future. So we're going to leave things just about there. The very final thing I'm going to do, wow, I didn't notice how much flickering there was in that light, is I'm going to switch to this other camera, and I'm just going to move this camera down and reiterate once again, this is 1 year worth of releases. Well, focus, come on. Thank you. Kind of. This is a horrible camera. This is 1 year of releases from our tribe. And it's not even everything. It's not the character miniatures that were involved. Come on! Why does that look sharper when I'm shaking the camera? That's insane. There we go. I love that one. Yeah. Insane. I think that's well worth $60. Obviously, like, you still need to print it out, but this doesn't even show off all the articulation. So this looks like it's one of our healthiest streams we've had in a very long time if we don't have a release. So thank you guys for all the new people joining. If you are new, please give a like and subscribe. And yeah, I will finish things up. I need to get back to the wife. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back next week with even more 3D printables. Join us then. This is Ben from Second Dynasty, signing off.